Okay, hey, welcome back to part 2 of our special episode with Mr. Pec-Tacular, Jessie Godderz. Jessie, when we last left off, I was asking you a little bit about the Big Brother and pro wrestling experience, but as I said, I started watching Big Brother. That's why I said don't hammer me on this question, because I'm sure everybody who's a Big Brother fan will know this answer, but you're the behind the scenes of that show. Like, obviously, they're filming, I assume, 24/7, but is there a lot of downtime?
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's nothing but downtime. So the reason why there's so many competitions and there's so many like twists and there's so many turns and there's so many variables and there's so many other things that come into play, whether it be through being a have-not and that aspect of it, is because they want to continue to incite, disagreements and obviously if they mess with your eating habits, your sleeping habits, and then also whether or not you bathe in warm or cold water, that's obviously going to make you a little short-tempered. So there's definitely different catalysts inside the house that are definitely provocative or set up to have just in and of itself a fight, so that's what they're trying to do. The people have to be pretty strong-minded, and after it starts to wear at you for so long, if you are a have-not, I was only a have-not for 1 week, I do believe, but between that aspect of it, you find out what a person does for a living, how many family members they have, where they went to school, what they're doing now, what their hobbies are. Okay, what do you do on day 2? And you talk to somebody. You see what I'm saying? So you either really get to know somebody. So that's why the genuine relationships that people that become friends, or individuals or house guests that become friends, is so genuine, and it's so much, it's heightened to an nth degree. You think being in a college dorm room and having classes with your friend is nice. Literally try having them be there when you wake up in the morning, when you shower, when you go to work, if you will, when you come back from work, when you're trying to work out. Literally 24 hours a day, you're around the same exact amount of people, the same exact personality. You get to see how good of not necessarily a manipulator, but you get to see the psychological experience. From the outside, when you watch it, obviously they're just little hamsters, but when you're inside the house, it's a completely different world. When people see what happens, or the eruptions or the fights or the arguments, if you will, or the tensions that actually do build, it could have been from something that happened, days or weeks before, that's now finally coming to a head at that exact moment that you don't see, So I myself, might have gotten into a couple quarrels. I believe the first season was on Big Brother 10, and it was at roughly 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. So this was the night after we actually got put inside the house. So the very first time, I was 22 in 2008, and they put us inside the house. It's hard enough to leading up to getting inside the house because of your nerves and all of this. You get quarantined for, I believe, or sequestered for a week to 10 days before you get put on the show. Once you're finally on the show, you get released into the wild, if you will, and set inside the house with, between 12 and 15 other people. So the high goes away. So once you realize it and you get, acclimated to your surroundings again, it goes away. So I couldn't sleep leading all the way up to getting put inside this house. Missed the 4th of July. I got to see the fireworks from a hotel window 2 years in a row. My point is, when I got put inside there, I was exhausted. I was exhausted before it even started because of the built up, not necessarily anxiety, but just anticipation and the excitement that you have to win $500,000. When do you have a chance? Whenever do you have a chance with such great odds of between 1 in 12 and 1 in 16 shot at $500,000 that could potentially be life changing depending upon what you do with it. And at 22 years old, who knows what I would have done? I would have bought a bunch of flights to Las Vegas and a camel, for crying out loud. Who knows? But the point is, that's the mindset that I had going into it. So that night, when I was tired, I was done and tapped out. And I just wanted to go to bed. I ended up getting into an argument with the eldest woman to ever be on reality television, and she happened to be on my season. And because it was at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I was saying, Rennie, why are you still cackling and screaming? Anywho, that was my introduction to the show of Big Brother, and then I was off to the races ever since. They didn't fight City Hall when it came to my storyline, if you will, because I was a natural bodybuilder. That was my story. There's only a handful of things that you can actually relate to psychology-wise when it comes to that show as a fan, where they're from and what their profession is. So if they're from, Minnesota, you're going for the Minnesota guy. You know what I mean? Just by default. There's a reason why they get people from Florida, Texas, New York, somewhere middle of America, whether it's, Iowa, Minnesota, Kentucky, somewhere in Illinois. You see what I'm saying? And then everybody else is from California. So when they reach all those demographics, okay, now what's your job? You're a police officer, firefighter, nurse, doctor, whatever the case may be. Relatability. I'm 22 years old and considered professional bodybuilder. Instant heat. But in my eyes, I'm the good old boy from Iowa, and that's what I thought my edit was. Unbeknownst to me, I was sadly mistaken. But because of things that I actually did do inside the house, nobody else's fault but my own. I got into an argument with a woman that was the eldest woman on reality television at the time, and I was off to the races after that. But it was great in the sense of like the psychological experiment. It definitely made you grow, because I got to see that. You get to be a very quick to judge people's character because of who they are and what they're divulging to you. At 22 years old, I've already moved from Iowa to California, and I knew that if there was a salesperson in California, a car salesman in California that was on the show, he's going to tell you everything under the sun to get further than you in the game. So I instantly already did not trust him, did not want to align with him. And that was my game strategy from day one, because I heard what he said, what he did for a job. And lo and behold, I believe he got out first that season. And everybody thought he was just some great game player, and they gave him a second chance, and I beat him the second time too. Anyways, that was just my, for instance, it's a great show. If you like the psychology of human nature, human behavior, competitive nature as well, there's something in it for everybody. Again, that's why it's literally the highest rated summer episodic television program of all time. And it's continuing to be renewed. The reason why all these other reality television shows don't have any kind of longevity on their networks is because it gets so contrived and convoluted, and storylines of reality television then need to get implemented to continue the storylines, whereas before it was organic. The first 3 seasons of Jersey Shore were amazing because they were organic, and you haven't seen anything like it before. You have to understand, I believe Big Brother is on either the 22nd season, 22 seasons. That means over 20 years, because there was 2 seasons. Remember, there was a writer's strike in New York for one of them. So they had 2 seasons that year. And then they've had one celebrity season and a handful of All-Stars now. But my point is, nowhere else in reality television history has there been, other than Survivor, has there been 20 years. But again, because it's organic, it's different. People all the time, it's a different psychology, and people love it because, again, it's just organic and it's pure. It's other than the competitions that come in, which again are there for, so they have content for, the 3 shows that they run a week. So these people are just like sitting inside a house, just hanging out, trying to talk to each other, trying to, connive and scheme and backstab and this, that, and the other thing. But they're also just trying to live life and be cordial with the other people inside the house, which is what it's turned into. And it's some degree, people are like, for the lack of better word, smart marks that go in as house guests now that are like, oh, I can't do this because of the internet. Oh, I can't do this because people are going to take it out of context, and I can't say this, or I can't voice my opinion on that because I'm going to get, scrutinized because of it, and then just publicly humiliated on the outside when they're just sitting inside trying to win $500,000 with a handful of people. At 22, I would have played it substantially different than I would now as well. But with the same mindset that I go in wearing my profession on my shoulders. As soon as I walked inside the door, I was considered a physical threat when every single physical competition is geared towards a smaller statured house guest. The vast majority of them are endurance based. And if I hold on to a rope and, 100-pound ballerina holds on to a rope for longer than 2 hours, more than likely I'm going to be the one burnt out, not the ballerina, because she could stand on that with one foot and twirl around while I'm sitting there just sweating profusely, and every part of every joint is just in dire agony, wanting me to drop and fall and lose the competition. So it's a catch-22 when it comes to that. So you almost have to throw somebody off, if you will. But that's where the different elements of social game and this, that, and the other thing come into play.
Yeah, the strategy. Yeah. Now, you mentioned Survivor, because one of my questions was going to be, obviously being on CBS, did that opportunity present itself? But I want to know, have you crossed paths in the professional wrestling business with one of the most, this guy got his villain, Johnny Fairplay from Survivor, like in your wrestling career, have you guys crossed over? And then also, I think John Morrison was recently on Survivor, and I think he had a pretty big target because of being a professional wrestler and in good shape. But has the Survivor contestant ever been thrown your way or ever considered?
So CBS does like to have some crossover appeal, or bring in a couple of house guests, or having people from Survivor go to Amazing Race as well. All of those shows are phenomenal. Again, all because the beauty of that show and competition is organic. You can literally put a handful of whoever, and the model's already made. The template is already made. You just need to get the characters. So yes, I've kicked around the idea. When it comes to Survivor, though, I don't think I really would stand a chance in hell on that one, just due to the fact that I'd have to eat, and I get super cranky when I don't eat. I don't know. I believe there was some other bodybuilder that I think when they first got there, one of the first couple days, there was a bundle of bananas, and he hoarded them all to himself and ate the vast majority of them. And I think within a couple days, he was instantly voted off. So Johnny Fairplay was actually my manager for the Hollywood Love Guns up at WFX in Winnipeg, Canada. When I first started my wrestling career, that promotion was, what was his name? Mike, and I can't think of his name. Mike Davis, I think, up in Winnipeg, Canada. And he gave me a shot. Gangrel was up there, Charlie Haas, Badass Billy Gunn, Kip Sop. I met Eugene there. And then, perfect example. I was down at FCW, got in with Johnny Fairplay. We had a tag team up in Winnipeg, Canada through WFX. Canadians love American Big Brother, so I was already super over. I believe his name's Rupert from Survivor. The guy that wore the guy that wore the tie-dye, he actually was able to come up and did an appearance with us, because they love our television. I don't know if you've ever seen any kind, and no offense to Canadian television, other than the Red Green show, which I love. The best, man. That was what I grew up on in Iowa Public Television back home. Other than that, there's a handful of other things. I'm sure Ryan Reynolds, and there's a handful of Jim Carrey and Nicole Arbor. There's a handful of other Canadian superstars. But when it comes to television products, I don't know of too many, because obviously they've tried to mirror the American Big Brother, and it's just not the same. They've tried to mirror a couple other things, and it's just not the same. But Canadians do love our American Big Brother. And so when Jessie Godderz, Mr. Pec-Tacular, was able to go up there, it was still quite the draw. One in 30 Canadians know who I am. So that's
awesome. Yeah, the Red Green show. I'm so glad to hear somebody. And of course, you're the upper Midwest like us. I got to meet Red Green.
Oh, yeah?
Pennsylvania, when I was living out there. Man, probably maybe 5-10 years ago. But went to his one-man show, and he's like, "Hey, I'll be hanging out in the lobby if you want to do pictures or anything." And, are you kidding me? I'm gonna get my picture taken with Red Green.
Absolutely, man. That was, and it's a great show. Great show.
Yeah, if you're watching this and you have no idea about the Red Green Show, they released them all on YouTube.
Yep.
So you guys can watch that, and trust me, it might take you if you're from, I don't want to be stereotypical, but if you're kind of not from the Midwest, kind of rural area, it might take you a little bit to get into it, but you're going to enjoy the pure
Absolutely.
time of it.
If you use duct tape, you'll enjoy it instantly.
Absolutely. Man, you know what? Red Green would be a great guest on here, actually.
You're welcome. You see how my mind works?
Perfect. Now I just need you to give him a call for me. So,
Right.
And Red Green and Degrassi, that's the other Canadian show I couldn't think of. That's where Drake came from. So,
Okay.
our Canadian television link up there. Before I let you go, just a couple more questions because I do want to be very respectful of your time. But we mentioned Robbie E and the bromance before, so I want to talk a little bit about that because people would be sending me emails, and if I didn't discuss your time with Impact and TNA. So talk about the two-time tag champions with Robbie.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. So it was, again, when you have chemistry with somebody and things are organic, it's almost a no-brainer. When Robbie and I continued to talk, we had a similar look. He had a great vision when it came to like wrestling gear and things of that nature. And it was just like off to the running after that. He had a handful of ideas. He said, hey, here's what we can do. Obviously, he's super knowledgeable when it comes to experience. He was doing it obviously years before I started in the business. And the synergy of both of us just worked phenomenally. Whether it came to and everything was precise. We went over our entrance together, we did all of that, going into the ring, how we set up for things, how we would do our promos and whatnot. Everything was orchestrated and already planned out and very well thought out on both of our behalves. We were able to win one of our tag team titles again over in Tokyo, Japan, in a three-way match, and it's just there's nothing like going into another country where there might be a language barrier, obviously that of which being in Japan, and seeing bromance signs and people already cheering for you. It was awesome, and it was probably one of the highlights of my career thus far, other than winning the national title as well, obviously at OVW, which that night I'll never forget, and I'm so stoked that so many people got photos. There's so much support that came rolling in, but when it came to everything, when it was Robbie and myself, it was great. And then it continued, then we got DJ Z to come into it, and he was our DJ for a while too. And again, these are people that you see on a daily basis. We're sharing hotel rooms together. We're getting dinners together. It's the camaraderie that you have with these individuals and people on the roster, and then people that are just your colleagues. It's unmatched, and I wouldn't trade that experience for the world, and then just being able to travel all over the country and then all over the world with them as well. But it was best. It was one of the best times thus far in my career. So, and I can't speak highly enough about Robbie. And then even what he's done as well, he's the same kind of guy. He's cut from the same cloth as Rockstar Spud, and that's, again, it's just a testament to their vision, what they have to do to adapt and reinvent themselves. Everybody goes a different route. And to speak back on my reality television experience, when I came to professional wrestling, if people don't want to believe me, and I'm assuming the vast majority of them will, there was a lot of resistance from other wrestlers when I came into the business, because I wasn't the standard, you go from A to B to Z, you start, with whichever training, whatever trainer they were, whatever aspect of the country they were from. You go through the independent circuit, you make a name for yourself, you get a highlight reel, you present it to people, and then you try to work your way up. That was not the same route that I went. I already did a completely different groundwork. I had a reality television background, and then I came knocking on the door of networks and promotions or to get on the product, and they're like, whoa, hold on a second, So even getting introduced to Impact Wrestling, mind you, I went to Bubba and Devon's school for a year as well when I was down in Florida. When I moved back down there a second time, because I moved from California to Florida, from Florida up to Louisville to train with Nick Dinsmore, from Louisville back down to Kissimmee, Florida to train with Bubba and Devon when I had my Impact contract already, and then back up to Louisville for Impact Wrestling's developmental, which was at OVW at the time. So now I'm back out here in Huntington Beach, California, working for OVW because I see, like, do you understand how my mind works as my own brand? You know, obviously, Robbie had a huge contribution when it was at Impact Wrestling, but he's still a businessman and he knows what he has to do. And I'm just saying the adaptability and what you have to do to make it in professional wrestling today is completely different than what it used to be. You know, you could be a YouTube star. You could be an Instagram sensation. You could be a TikTok star. Like, you could do whatever. You need to be a character that can obviously be a draw. You need to have some sort of unique look. Again, OVW encapsulates all of that and turns you into your own brand that the product can use to make money off of. If you can't make money, no one cares. No one cares. If you can write, you know, The Rock Johnson on a piece of paper, it is going to be at this address, how many people are going to show up? A lot. But if that one piece of paper gets put on a local library, only the people in the local town are going to know that The Rock Johnson is going to be at said address. You can do the same thing with Tom Cruise, George, whatever his name is, George Clooney. You know, if people don't know where you're going to be, one, you already have to have demand. Two, you need to be marketable. Three, you got to be able to draw. You know, it's such a multifaceted business. You know, it's not just one dimensional. And to Robbie's point, the reason why I kind of got off on this tangent is because Robbie thinks of all of that. You know, I think he's almost literally wrestled in every single state in the country. Every single state he's wrestled in, because he's like, okay, if I go and wrestle at said place, I'm also going to have a seminar, because I'm going to run the seminar. For the first hour, it's going to be like, I'm going to see everybody's talent, and then I'm going to have a promo class, and then we're going to do matches for the last hour. 3 hours, $20. He just went to a show on a weekend, and in the morning before the show, he's actually doing a seminar and making another $200, $300, $400, $500 for himself, or splitting it with wherever the ring is. Do you see what I'm saying? That's his mindset. That's his business. But that's also because of the experience that he has. There's other guys that try to mirror that same business model, which I understand and I respect. And if I did something like that, I would love to do something like that. But it's going to be catered toward a different aspect of my expertise when it comes to nutrition, working out, things of that nature, that is still very prevalent and very important when it comes to this line of work. You know, injury prevention, things of that nature. How many people lose out on their career and or an opportunity because they're hurt? They tweaked their knee, or they messed up their shoulder, or they hurt themselves in the gym, you know? But that's that. I mean, I took a lot more from Robbie other than just on-air persona. Our chemistry was great. Obviously, that came across in the product. The opportunities that we had because of how hard we worked. We were yes man. Hey, here's what we needed to do. You got it. Yes. Done. Didn't matter who we needed to put over. And what really upsets me is the fact of all the years and all the days of us putting people over, and then when it was our chance, you know, like, who was resistant when it was our time, you know, and it wasn't many. Do you see what I'm saying? Because of all the work that we already put in, all the groundwork that we already put in. So that's the only thing. Again, those two Ferris wheels. You know, that would be the only thing. But again, the outpour of support that comes, you know, with it, obviously is great thereafter. So I'm going on a tangent. My phone's about to die. I'm trying to charge it. So
no, you're good. We'll hurry up. I just really think that any young wrestler really, this is the episode of the Lockdown Sessions to watch, because you're really giving out a lot of great free knowledge. Two more questions.
Yeah.
My lead up to my final question is going to be very anticlimactic, and you've probably answered it 100 times before, but I want to know, for you being a bodybuilder, you and Robbie E, let's say, traveling on the road, people don't understand, that aren't into the business, that this is not just something even if you are a weekend warrior, you have to put your work in throughout the week. But traveling around the country, how difficult is it to keep track of your diet and your workouts when you guys were busy? You know, you're flying 14 hours to Japan or whatever it is. That's got to take a toll on you physically and mentally too, about trying to sort out. You're not just thinking about today, like, where am I going to eat tomorrow, or how far ahead can you plan, or what was that like, just in a brief, before your phone runs out of juice?
No, no worries. It's it's easy. It's super easy. I can go into a gas station right now and pick up a bag of peanuts, 2 hard-boiled eggs, and a water, or meats and cheeses, or a protein bar. People make an excuse to eat unhealthy. The same way you can stop and go to a fast food restaurant, whether it be McDonald's, any fast food line, Chick-fil-A, whatever it may be. You can also go into a grocery store and grab things that are way better for you. The same time it takes for you to walk in and order food and wait in line at a fast food restaurant, you could walk into a grocery store and grab the same amount for maybe equivalent to the same price, if not cheaper. Grabbing an apple, grabbing, eggs are the fastest, easiest thing you could possibly consume. They're already in a hard-boiled bag. Like, that's it. There's literally zero excuse. Even if you do eat fast food, you can tell them, when you make my burger, I don't want any cheese, I don't want a bun, and don't put extra salt on it, because salt is one of the biggest things that put flavor inside fast food. It's not even funny. If you ever look at the salt and sodium content of a lot of the food, it's so doused in salt just so there's flavor that you can't taste anything else. And there's a reason why it's on there. Even if you go to In-N-Out, out here on the West Coast, In-N-Out douses more salt on their burgers. Habit douses more salt on their burgers. Just be mindful of it. You already know, like, the same. I get what you're saying. It's like, it's got to be tough, but finding a gym is just as easy as calling up the local gym that's the closest to the hotel that we're staying at, because we already have a rental car, saying, hey, Impact Wrestlers in town. We got 5 of us professional wrestlers. We'll promote it. We'll put it on our Instagram. We'll put a photo up on our Instagram or Twitter saying, hey, here's where we're working out for the day. See you guys here. It's a great gym. Try it out if you're in the local area. Done. Any manager that's like, when we come in and they're promoting, for the city or for the town, that Impact Wrestling or OVW or, WWE, like, you really think WWE professional superstars are going to any town and can't get into a gym? Of course they can. If you don't think that the same thing couldn't happen with your independent promotion and say, hey, I'm sure I could talk to the promoter, and if you guys you wanted to go to the wrestling show, we could give you two tickets. You're telling me that independent show is so sold out you couldn't give the manager or the owner of that gym a couple tickets for him and his family? Absolutely you could. Do you see what I'm saying? So if there's a will, there's a way. There's so many ways around stuff. If there's a problem, find a solution. That's all there is to it. Just be a problem. Just critical thinking.
Okay, and what the internet is dying to know right now off of that question, for Mr. Pec-Tacular, what is an epic cheat meal for you? What would you go to?
What's my go-to? It used to be like chocolate donuts for dessert type. And then just either, whether it be like a cheeseburger. I really used to love in Iowa. I don't know if they have them. They might have them up in Minnesota. You guys have Casey's?
The Casey's General Store?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, I've seen.
They have breakfast pizza there. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I don't know if I've had them. But
so breakfast pizza, or they actually started with a taco pizza as well. So when I'm back home in Iowa, they have taco pizza that they have like crunched up Doritos on top of the pizza. That would be it. Either taco pizza or just a cheeseburger from Habit at this point. But I just had that 2 days ago, so I'm not like jonesing for it by no means. But the beautiful thing about eating clean all the time is it's one good meal doesn't mean you're eating healthy, and one cheat meal doesn't mean you're not healthy. So if you're 95%, eating and when I say clean, I just mean like healthy foods, whole foods, things like that, not in a box, things that you cook, you know, chicken, tuna, eggs, fish, steak, whatever your heart desires when it comes to that. It just takes time. But if you put the effort in, you get what you get out. And that's the beautiful thing about working out. That's the beautiful thing about diet. It's the only thing where you can find instant gratification in, well, I mean, not as instant as, you know, ordering a McDonald's cheeseburger and being able to consume that, obviously, or drinking a soda or a pop, which we say pop and others say soda. But instant gratification when it comes to results, you know, and changing your physique. Obviously, if you put forth the effort, you're going to get out what you put in. So that's all.
Awesome. So we're going to wrap it up here with my final question, which is always the most important question that I ask. We know OVW, but for all the fans watching, and remember, we're based in the UK, so around the world, where can we keep track of what Mr. Pec-Tacular is doing? What's your socials? You got merch? You have anything?
Yeah. My Instagram page is at Mr. Pec-Tacular. So at MRPEC_TACULAR. That's my Twitter handle. MrPec-Tacular.com is my website. But obviously OVW has its own YouTube page. We're on, 7 different networks, I believe. In the US, it's completely different than obviously overseas, but I would definitely turn people to the YouTube page to check it out. And I think the vast majority, and we have an app too. So, but which the app is great. And then there's t-shirts on there. There's so many things that obviously OVW has been able to equip all their talent with that makes it just such a machine, you know, like it's truly crazy. And I love being a part of it. I genuinely do, because again, I'm sure these long-winded answers come from passion. So it might be all over the place and like, it might be whatever, but if you ask me one question, I'm going to tell you a story and you're going to know a lot more about it. It's not the best when you're conducting an interview. I understand. I've been criticized for that, but you get to know me as a person a little bit more in my journey. And then also like how you can, whether it's easily attainable for you and, or take it for what it's worth, and know that, you know, the smartest people learn from other people's mistakes. So take it for what it's worth. But OVW, if like you said, if there's anybody that wants to be in professional wrestling, I promise you, there's no other place that's going to fight as hard and work to help you succeed than OVW. No, there's no other promotion that's out there trying to help you grow to your most, like your highest potential. And if there is, I would literally question you on which other promotion is trying to help you become the biggest star you want to be. Because I have a feeling a lot of the people on the roster at any other promotion are trying to undercut or fight for that person's job. Whereas here, it's a family. Like these people in the higher ups, the superiors, the people that are orchestrating, the guys in the office are trying to actively create new opportunities for the talent on a daily basis. So if you don't think all these like 7 new networks that are in the United States aren't appealing to somebody such as yourself, if you're trying to get into professional wrestling, like you're greatly mistaking yourself and you're doing yourself a disservice, you know. But again, a testament to my career is just following that opportunity. You know, you have to be in the building to get the job. You know, you have to be in the town to do it. And again, like they're doing stuff from literally putting people up, you know, to getting people jobs. Because again, I'm sure it's scary, you know, if you're 18, 19 years old, or if you're 30, 40 years old. Like, okay, if I relocate, what about housing? What about finding a job? Absolutely. Like there's still real world aspects to this. I completely understand. But to your point, if you're only doing this every second Saturday, I can in 1 week have more shows than you could in 2 months. So I'm twice as far, you see what I mean? And that's when I relocated to FCW, I was leaps and bounds ahead of people that could have been wrestling for 2 years, that only had 1 show every year. Oh, I do the big spot show that such and such does because I'm a professional wrestler. I got a pair of tights and boots. It's like, how many wrestling matches have you had? And you start to see that, you know? So again, this is a business. I love this business. It took a long time to obviously spew out all that education and all that experience just was encapsulated in these 2 volumes or these 2 episodes of your show, to garner. And this is during my era. Obviously, it might be completely different 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now. So.
No, absolutely. Like I said, if you're not watching this with a notepad,
Yeah.
as a young wrestler, and that's something that we agree upon, is that I've been lucky enough to have some connections and try to pass them on to some of these guys, and it'll irk me when they take no advantage of it and then will call me 4 weeks later. What was that you were talking about? And hey, dude, somebody was looking for a guy. I thought I'd pass it on to you, but no.
Yeah. Somebody else took that spot. In 2 weeks, I moved to Florida to start this when Ric Flair told me that. You got to strike right while the iron's hot. It's just like, because I could have waited. I could have been like, oh, because they have them quarterly. They have a little racket over there when it was like every 3 months they had a new beginner's class or whatever class it was, intermediates class, whatever the class was. You see what I'm saying? Like, it could have been 100%. The next 3 months, but literally at a drop of a hat. It's just, how dedicated are you? Like, and that's a testament. If anybody ever plays competitive sports, you can see where their mind's at. And that's the beauty of competition. And what's unfortunate is now we're at a participation award, society where everything's equal. It's not a hierarchy. Well, guess what? John Cena and Hulk Hogan are almost untouchable, for the lack of better words. Like, those people don't come around but once every century, so, or a decade, it's just like these are the kind of individuals that you have to find. And when you find them, they need to be self-motivated, so it's crazy, man. It's like you said, you respect the business, you respect this profession. And I think anybody that's made $1 in it comes to find out how hard it truly is. And either they can reinvent themselves, such as Chris Jericho. I mean, that guy's a chameleon.
Yeah,
what I mean?
Over and over.
There's only one other person I feel as though is as good as that, and that's Matt Hardy.
Right.
Good. So, and I know Matt substantially better than I know Chris. Chris was a huge icon of mine as well. I actually met him at the airport, and I exchanged a couple words with him, and that was the only interaction I've ever had with the fellow. But another perfect example, a rock star, an author, a professional wrestler, a TV host, all of these things. Like, he's running the gambit, like he has a plethora of accomplishments and accolades and experiences in his life. And it's just like, he knows no bounds, and I'm not saying, good at a few and master of none, but he's phenomenal in every aspect of it. And that's something I can look up to, because that's just hard work, at the end of the day. And I think that's the biggest thing I'm just trying to get across. And with where I'm at in my personal life, in my personal career, and my personal brand, with OVW and being a champion, that's what I carry with me. That's why I take this to the nth degree and very seriously. And I truly hope that this gives a little bit of insight, not only on my personal character, as well as where I'm at, in my mind, going into professional wrestling, and how I'm going to not only represent myself, my brand, but holding a title and making that title mean something, and making that title mean something across the entire country and around the world, because of the opportunity that I've been given by Al Snow and Chad Miller, which, again, I can't thank them enough. When's the last time you ever heard of a champion be thankful for that opportunity, because it's huge. And it's massive, and I can't think of enough, and I don't take it lightly. So if somebody thinks that with all this backstory and all that, dialogue of this, just these last 2 interviews, they think that they're going to stop me from having that. Obviously, that's where they get the enforcer of Mr. Pec-Tacular. I mean, these 20-inch arms aren't just for looks. That's when that comes into play. Don't let this suit jacket fool you.
And I said before earlier, I said in the first interview that you seem like the epitome of preparation meeting opportunity, but you also remind me of another good quote that I always hear in the back is, be ready, so you don't have to get ready, you know? And you just seem to me to be the living epitome of those words just from talking to you for these last few hours. So much appreciate your time. We Wrestling Travel, we can't wait to keep track. You know, once I got more on the OVW recently, because OVW's been around for a while, but seeing what they're doing and Al Snow and stuff, like I said, guys, we've got to get more involved with OVW. And you'll see our Twitter, we push as much as we can for OVW. But
Thank you.
I always say I want to be respectful of your time. So I want to thank you for your time. And we can't wait to maybe down the road we do a part 3 when this, because we haven't even talked about the original thing with the lockdown sessions. We're going to talk about what's been going on during the pandemic. So I'm going to have to get you for part 3 down the road. But Mr. Pec-Tacular, Jessie Godderz, we thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.